Welcome back to Land Survey Learn, Boundary Talk. Today, we're untangling a mess where a handshake deal went south, leaving a listener's barn and tractor stranded behind a neighbor's newly locked gate.
Welcome back to Land Survey Learn Boundary Talk. I'm Candace, and I'm joined, as always, by the man who has seen every property line dispute since the invention of the compass, Mike.
Hey now, I wasn't around for the Gunter's chain era. Well, maybe just at the tail end of it. Great to be back, Candace. We've got a real neighborhood drama in the inbox today, don't we?
Oh, it's a doozy. It's the classic story of a friendship that soured and a barn that's now essentially on an island. This one comes from a listener who is in a real pinch with his neighbor, Dave. Mike, you want to grab the coffee? I'm going to read this one out loud because the details are really important for the analysis.
Coffee is poured. I'm all ears.
All right, here is the letter. I've lived on this piece of land for 12 years, and for most of that time, I considered my neighbor, Dave, a close friend. My property is beautiful, but it's steep, especially the back half where I built my barn. To get down there, I've always used a winding dirt access road that cuts across the back corner of Dave's property. It was never an official easement written into a deed. It was just a handshake deal we made back when I first cleared the brush. When I was planning the barn 5 years ago, I sat down with Dave and asked him straight out if it was okay to keep using that track. He told me, "Don't worry about it. As long as I'm living here, that road is yours to use." Relying on his word, I spent thousands of dollars pouring a slab and raising the timber. That barn is the heart of my workshop now, but the topography of my own acreage makes it physically impossible to reach from my main driveway without a massive, expensive excavation through solid rock. A few months ago, things soured between us over a silly disagreement about a drainage pipe, and now Dave won't even look at me. Yesterday, he stopped me at the fence line and told me he's closing the access road for good. He's planning to put up a locked gate and told me I have no legal right to step foot on his dirt ever again. My tractor, my tools, and all my equipment are essentially stranded. Since this was the only way to access that part of my land, and I built permanent structures based on his explicit permission, where do I stand?
Thisly, man, the drainage pipe fallout. It's always something small that breaks the dam, isn't it? One minute you're sharing a beer over the fence, the next minute you're locking gates and talking about your dirt.
It's heartbreaking, honestly. He spent thousands on that barn because he trusted Dave's word. Now he has a building he can't reach without a helicopter.
Well, let's look at this like surveyors. First off, we have to talk about the handshake deal. In the world of real estate, if it isn't in writing, it basically doesn't exist, initially. But our listener here has a few heavy hitters on his side of the legal plate.
Right. The first thing that jumps out at me is prescriptive rights. Mike, explain the open and notorious concept for the folks at home.
So a prescriptive easement is a lot like adverse possession, but you're only stealing the use of the land, not the title itself. Usually you have to use the path for a specific number of years, often 5 to 20 depending on the state, in a way that is open, notorious, continuous, and adverse. Now, the adverse part is tricky here because he had permission.
Exactly. Since Dave gave him permission, it wasn't hostile or adverse at the start. But since Dave is now revoking it after 12 years of continuous use, the clock might have already done its work, or we move into a different territory, easement by Estoppel.
Estoppel is the big one here. That's a fancy legal word that basically means you can't go back on your word if someone else relied on it and spent money because of it. Our listener spent thousands of dollars on a concrete slab and timber for a barn specifically because Dave said, "That road is yours to use."
It's called Detrimental Reliance. You can't let someone build a permanent structure that requires your road, watch them spend the money, and then say, "Just kidding," 5 years later. A judge is going to look at that and see a very clear case for an equitable easement.
Then there's the topography. He mentioned it's physically impossible to get there through his own land because of solid rock. That leads to easement by necessity.
Right. If a piece of property, or in this case, a significant portion of the property with a permanent structure, is landlocked, the law generally doesn't want that land to be useless.
Exactly. The courts don't like waste. If the only way to get to a barn is across Dave's dirt and the alternative is blasting through 10 feet of granite, the necessity argument is very strong.
So let's talk about the action plan for our listener. Mike, if he calls you tomorrow, what's the first thing you tell him?
First thing, stop arguing with Dave at the fence line. It's only going to make the hostility part of the legal case more complicated. Second thing, you need to hire two professionals. You need a licensed land surveyor, that's us, and a land use attorney.
Why both?
Well, the attorney is going to fight the legal battle, but the surveyor provides the evidence. We need to go out there and map that dirt road. We need to show exactly where it is, how long it is, and where it sits in relation to the property lines. We also need to document the topography. I'd want to show the court that solid rock the listener mentioned. A map that shows it's physically impossible to build a road on his own land is worth 1,000 words in court.
And the attorney will take that map and likely file for a quiet title action or an injunction to stop Dave from locking that gate. Based on the estoppel and necessity we talked about, he actually has a very strong case for a permanent, recorded easement that will stay with the deed forever.
Yeah, Dave might have inadvertently turned his handshake into a permanent legal encumbrance on his property. If Dave ever tries to sell his house, that easement is going to show up on the title report now.
It's a tough lesson for Dave, but it's a necessary protection for our listener. You can't just trap someone's tractor and tools because you're mad about a drainage pipe.
The pipe of war. You know, I once did a survey where two guys didn't speak for 30 years over a birdhouse that was 3 inches over the line.
Surveyors see the best and worst of humanity, don't they?
We really do. So, listener, if you're watching, don't panic. You have 12 years of history, a permanent building, and a physical impossibility on your side. Call a local land surveying firm. You can find them through your state's Professional Surveyors Association website and get that road mapped. Then, take that map to a land use attorney.
And whatever you do, don't try to blast through that solid rock yourself this weekend. Leave the dynamite to the professionals and the arguments to the lawyers.
Great advice. Well, that's another one for the books. If you're enjoying these deep dives into the messy world of boundaries, do us a favor.
Hit that like button and subscribe to Land Survey Learn Boundary Talk. It helps us keep the lights on and the coffee brewing for Mike.
And if you have a property line story, maybe your neighbor is trying to lock you out or you found a mystery monument in your rose bushes, please comment below. We might just feature it on the next episode.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next line.